So yeah, so basically what I was saying is that AJ and I have known each other now for probably a few months. I think we met first, what was it, 6, 7 months ago, AJ, on Zoom.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of when I got to know a little bit about you and about your company. And what I thought, I found interesting was that, I think you kind of started from like the lending perspective or lending side. And then you also, found a way to kind of, integrate this product for real estate agents, for us as agents. And now it's one of the top tools I think out there, in its class for like the digital open house kind of sign-in thing. But what's even more fascinating than that, as far as like what you guys have kind of turned this product into, it does even more now than just like a digital open house sign-in sheet. You guys are doing like, it's like single property sites, it looks like QR codes. There's all sorts of stuff. And so we're going to get into that here on the call today. But I know you're a wealth of knowledge when it comes to kind of open houses. But before we dive into any of that, what I want to do is have you maybe just give a quick little, bio of yourself, how you even kind of got into this business, and what that looks like today. Like what's your day-to-day look like today? So AJ, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's good to chat again. And yeah, excited to share what we've been doing with Curb Hero. A lot of new features coming out. But as for me, I'm born and raised in Southern California. Spent most of my life here, and I was originally in the e-commerce business, so building a lot of tools and consumer sites around the time when people were still scared about putting their credit card into the computer and buying stuff online. And I started that as my journey, and then I went into some marketing companies, some startups, both in Los Angeles and in London. And then after a couple years in foggy, cold, and wet London, I came back to Los Angeles, fell in love with my wife, who's actually a loan officer, and she introduced me to so many of these marketing tools that her and her agents were using, and that's kind of how Curb Hero came to be. It's a little bit longer of a story, but yeah, my life is it. We run both of our businesses from home. We have a little girl that's just about 20 months now, and she's just, wild and crazy and so much fun. Yeah, so that's pretty much what my life looks like. It's just wake up, hustle, play with the little girl, try and enjoy some time afterwards, and repeat.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, it looked like from what I could find, research wise, you started Curb Hero, was it around 2019 or so?
Yeah. Right around that time, we were just kind of bringing it out of this beta where it was just being used by the agents that we kind of had within our network. And then we put it out on the app stores for any agent in the country to start using.
Nice. Yeah, man. I mean, it's come a long way. Like, cause I remember even like when we first talked, it didn't do everything that it even does today. So, I mean, you guys are, definitely adding a lot of cool things to it. I think, the interface is very, user friendly, which I of course like. I think as agents, if it's too complex, if things just don't work right, it's not going to be effective. And so your stuff just seems to work very good. And I've got an account myself. I've definitely messed around with it, and I think it's awesome. I mean, there's so many cool things. We'll dive into it. I want you to kind of share it. I'll share my screen, and we'll kind of dive into some of the more specific features. Before we do that, there's actually, I wanted to ask you, because I know you know of a lot of agents, you work with a lot of agents, and you kind of know what agents need when it comes to open houses. And so I want to take this opportunity while I've got you on here, just to maybe ask you a few like open house specific questions to give maybe some perspective to agents who may have not done open houses yet, or maybe have done them and they haven't seen that they're super effective or something like that. Maybe you can help shed some light on that, because obviously the more that they're going to be doing open houses, or even just getting on the listing side of the business, I think the more effective your service and your product becomes to them. So I got some questions here for you, AJ, if you don't mind, if I just go ahead and dive into them, and then feel free to answer them however. And then once we do that, we'll go ahead and jump more into your product. So the first question that I have is, what are the best ways to market an open house to generate more interest?
Yeah. So, the first thing I would say is just make sure you do the open house. 18 months ago, or, in 2020, 2021, it felt like it was completely unnecessary to even do the open house. But I think the the under the covers, there was a necessity around maximizing value for your seller client, where the more demand you can bring into the property, even if it's on the margins, it's going to potentially increase the amount that your seller nets, and maybe the terms. So the first thing is making sure you work with your seller, or if you're holding it open with another agent, you kind of coordinate how that goes. But just doing the open house, because it's not a very sexy prospecting strategy. You know, if you go into like any real estate Facebook group and you ask like a basic open house question, like, oh, you know, I'm a new agent, what's the best time to host an open house? You know, you'll get a bunch of snarky comments saying, never, I don't do open house. You know, like, so like, don't let that dissuade you. Like there is value in doing them. The other thing I would suggest is making sure you right size the open house marketing and the time that you're putting into it, because there's a lot of also strategies around really going big, like turning this thing into a block party. And you know, that's great if you have an unlimited budget and amount of time to plan, but you're not always going to be in that situation. So understanding when it makes sense to go big like that, and when it makes sense to kind of dial it back and just pick how you want to market. And then when it comes to the actual marketing, you know, it starts with making sure that listing is if it's coming soon, making sure you get it, you're taking advantage of that coming soon period, and making sure, you know, the photos and everything look good, because as soon as people start landing on, you know, the various websites and portals that people browse to find listings, then their information is starting to be tracked, and those portals are going to feed them information back when the property goes from coming soon to active, when there's an open house schedule. And then that kind of, it ends up being your marketing arm when it comes to people browsing online. And then there's a lot of things you can do with the local real estate network that you may have, whether it's a broker caravan or a broker's open, and getting the word out, let's say the Tuesday before the actual open house, to all of those people, so then they can bring their clients or send their clients to the open house day of. You know, door knocking the neighborhood. You mentioned getting listings. That's a great way to get that exposure in the neighborhood, and potentially, you know, start the nurturing process in the neighborhood. And maybe some of those people will stop by the open house, and you can kind of build on that. We've got some great tools that we can hopefully touch on around like door hangers and postcards and QR codes for that. And the last thing is obviously social media and all that, but open house signs, another thing that people are like, oh, that sounds kind of old school. Like this is like, what are we, the Flintstones? But open house signs, you know, that there's something to having a ton of signs out in the neighborhood on the day of, because that really just funnels traffic to the open house, where you might catch those people that are just in the neighborhood, and they either don't have enough information about getting there, or they have some free time and they want to stop by, and that those signs really help direct people into the open house.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, and one of the things too that I've found helpful, I don't know if you've, you know, talked to other agents or experienced this, but like, you know, I think sometimes too, as agents, we kind of like, when it comes to open houses, we just do like a shotgun approach, where it's like, you know, we'll do an open house over here one day, the open house over here, and there's no rhyme or reason to like which open houses we're doing. Like, especially if we're only doing them on our listings. And a lot of times, you know, as agents, like, you know, we get listings and they're all over the place, and we feel like obligated, or like we want to just do an open house on all of our own listings. Whereas I think sometimes I've found it effective for agents when they can be really honed in on like a specific area, like a geographic farm. And even if it's not their own listing, like if they see a new listing that comes up, you know, but it's in their area, and let's say that agent wasn't going to be doing one themselves, like trying to get, you know, the agent to allow them to do it. Because the more you do it in a certain location, especially if you can be consistent, like once a week or something like that, where like every weekend, you know, even if it's a different house each time, if you're in that same area and your signs are out there in the yards, or, you know, they're on the street corners and people are seeing them like constantly, eventually you get people that just show up to your open house, not necessarily even for that house, but just to meet you, because they're like, oh my gosh, well, you must be the expert in this area, because I see your signs, you know, all the time doing houses, you know, doing houses. They don't know that it's not your listing necessarily right at the beginning, you know, and they just see your signs. They're like, oh my gosh, you must know the most about this area because you're out here every weekend. Whereas like, if you are just doing them all over the city or whatever, you're never going to be able to get that kind of, you know, same response. So like that's something that I've seen, and I've actually, experienced it myself. Just when I do open houses or when I've recommended to agents do open houses, that's one of the things that I kind of try to recommend. It's not always perfect. Sometimes when you're relying upon other agents and other listings that are in that area, you can't be perfect, but going towards that goal, I think is pretty helpful too. So yeah, love it. All right. So my next question, what are some essential elements that you should be including in your open house to make it successful? Like, what do you need to either bring with you? It could be physical things, or like, what are just like some elements to a key, some key elements to a successful open house?
Yeah, so I think this also kind of goes in line with right sizing your budget and how you're approaching it. So if you want to go big, you can bring in food vendors or or food and that kind of thing, but you don't necessarily have to. One thing that I think a lot of agents feel like they should bring, but I kind of think that maybe it's time to consider not doing, is the printed flyer. And I know that some agents and teams just love their branded, their printed branding, and the way that like slightly expensive premium cardstock feels when they stack it up on the counter at the open house. But there's actually a few things that our app does that I think kind of make a case for why it makes sense to go digital when it comes to that flyer, and instead give them a digital version. Because especially when prepping for an open house, it takes time to run to the printer and also make sure that those flyers or their full-on brochures are well designed. You can save all that time, save the expense, potentially save a tree, and make that a digital microsite using our app. And then you can embed things that you could never print, like a virtual tour, a video tour, a whole gallery of photos, a bunch more text, and that can actually then also lead to more prospects signing in, because in order for them to get that microsite, they are going to have to provide their phone number in our app, text them the microsite immediately after they sign up. So that is kind of like why I would suggest not doing the flyers. But as far as other things to bring, I would say, if you have an iPad or a laptop, use that for your digital sign-in as opposed to the pen and paper. Making sure that the property is looking its best. Make sure you give plenty of time day of to actually just in case, give it one last check through and make sure everything looks good. If you're going to do like a raffle, that's a great way to get people to sign in and get more prospects in the door, is if you're going to hold some kind of raffle, and maybe you can work with some of your partners to get someone else to sponsor it or help you cover the cost. These are all ways that can bring more people in the door, and of those people that come in the door, get you more names in your database and potentially more demand for the property.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree as far as like, trying to move over to the digital side of marketing as quickly as possible. And even still, like, I mean, if you are like, set on like, I've got to have a flyer or something, printed, I love integrating it with something like a QR code that makes it easy for people that like do get some kind of physical stuff to like move over to the digital side. Because then once you get onto the digital side, like you can do so much better stuff. Like you can track things, like you can actually track, how many people click on stuff. Like you can see if your results are effective, right? And like what they do next. You can retarget people. Like there's just like, it's endless once you get people over to the end onto the digital side. And so, I mean, I get it. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. Like sometimes if agents aren't used to that type of marketing, but I will say in 2023 and beyond, like we are going to have, as agents, we're going to have to start embracing that, because the top agents, that are doing the majority of the business, that's what they're doing. They're retargeting, they're sending people really effective like email campaign follow-ups with like video integrated into it. And if you're just the one that's like still handing out like paper flyers thinking they're like, oh, well, now this person's going to use me as their agent, like, I'm sorry, but they're probably not, right? Like you got to stand out to people. And so that's kind of, a big part of it now today. So I 100% agree, as far as trying to get over to the digital side. That's why, I mean, having you on this call and, getting to talk about Curb Hero, I think is going to be awesome, because I know that you guys already have, a significant user base, a lot of agents using it, but there's also a lot of agents that probably have never heard of it. And so I think this will be eye-opening for the audience to be able to check it out and see not only what you guys do, like I said, for the open house side of things, But even, more than that, like the digital marketing, like what you can do with some of these other services that you guys are offering now. So cool. The next one, this is the last question. Then I want to jump into some like specifics about your, about Curb Hero. But first is, what advice do you have for first time open house hosts? So somebody who's never hosted an open house, maybe they're considering it, maybe they're not even considering it. Like, what would you say to that agent who is first time potential host?
Yeah, I think it's a great way for newer agents to build up their database, because if you ask veteran agents where their business comes from, they're going to be looking to, a third to 2/3 of their business just coming from referrals and past clients. And if you're a new agent, you don't necessarily have those things. You definitely don't have past clients. So how do you get there? Well, you need to find the new clients somewhere. And open houses, I mean, talk about your motivated home buyers. These are people that are taking time out of their weekend, their free time, to look for houses. And so there you go. And sure, some of those folks are going to be represented, but not all of them are.
Right.
So it's a great opportunity to build that trust, engage with those people, have them in your database. So then now you can do all the digital engagement, take the heavy lifting off your hands. And these are long sales cycles. So it could be months, it could be over a year before something happens, but that's the beauty of digital marketing. So definitely just go out and do it. If you're a real estate agent, you're a business owner, and the fact that you have to take time out of your weekend to do this, this is kind of what we all signed up for as business owners. And there's something also to it being such an unsexy prospecting. Like everyone wants to get a reel that goes viral and gets picked up by the Instagram algorithm, right? So, but that's where everyone's heading. So when everyone's trying to zig, maybe it's time to zag. And that's why open houses can be a less competitive place. And you may have a lot of agents that have listings that they just don't want to hold open. And if you can network with those agents, maybe they're on your team, maybe they're in your office, maybe they're part of your brokerage and they're talking about it on a message board. If you can connect with them and say, hey, I'll send you all the represented people who sign in, and I'm going to keep all the people who are unrepresented. For them, that's a win-win, and they get their weekend back, and then you get to boost your business.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. I mean, for those that, don't know my backstory, and AJ, you may not even know this. So like when I got started in real estate, it was 2008. So it's been 15 years now, but my first 5 years I was in new home sales. And so almost like that was like I was doing an open house like 5 days a week, because I mean, essentially that's what I was doing. I was sitting in the model home, and basically people would come in and then I would try and get their business, and so for a new agent, somebody who's like coming in and they're overwhelmed, like, man, I don't even know how to get started, like talking to people or, whatever. I'm telling you, like open houses worked for me, because here I was, 21 years old, getting started in real estate. I knew nothing about real estate. I didn't own a house. I didn't, even know sales. I'd never had a sales job before. But what was cool about it is that people were automatically, coming through my doors, some days more than others. But it was like I got to experiment and practice. And I mean, if somebody came in and I said the wrong thing, that stunk, but there would be another person coming in, right behind them at some point, right? And so I get all these at bats, and I would, I'd get the experience. And, and it was just nice to be out there in the field, like doing work, whereas now it's like agents, they get their license, they come in and they're just like, well, what do I do? Like, I don't even know what to do next. They sit in their office or they go to their broker's office and they're like, confused about what to do. It's like, man, just set yourself up for open houses. You'll figure it out as you go. But you're going to constantly be adding leads to your database. Like you said, you're going to be getting, chances to talk to people, build connections, build relationships. And then as you start to like take it one step further, whether it's, starting to add a little door knocking beforehand, and maybe you get some listings from it, or, just even the marketing, the digital marketing you're going to put into it to market that open house. You might get leads that come in that maybe they're not interested in the open house, but they just saw your marketing, whatever. There's going to be a lot of opportunities that just going through this strategy will increase for you. And if, and so that's where it's like, hey, open house is just kind of the start of it. It's the tip of the iceberg. And eventually, like you said, if it's not super sexy to you and you don't want to do it long-term, like I did it for 5 years, and that's what helped build the foundation of my business, because then I got into general real estate and I could do all sorts of stuff. I actually had a sphere of influence. And then at that point, I didn't have to do open houses anymore. If I didn't want to, I could just work my sphere of influence because I had built such a big list over the course of those 5 years from the people that I had helped. And so, it's just like a little bridge to kind of get you where you want to be. And maybe you'll find that you love open houses. You just want to do them for forever, right? Like, that's cool too. There's people that work in new home sales like their whole life, right? Like, it just depends on like what you really like. But I think it's a great way to get started. It's very low cost, low barrier to entry. And you're going to get work like right away. You're not going to be sitting because, somebody comes in the door, you don't have like a choice. Like you're going to go talk to them, like, and you got to figure it out. Like, you know what I mean? There's no kind of being wishy-washy at that point. Like once you're there. So, well, cool. I love it. Well, all right. Now I want to kind of shift gears a little bit, AJ, and maybe, I'm going to share my screen. I'd love for you to kind of like, talk a little bit about, Curb Hero and, talk about what it's doing today. And then at the very end, maybe I know you're always kind of working on some stuff and you're a serial entrepreneur. I'm sure, just like me, your head's always spinning a million miles an hour. I'm sure there's things that you want to do in the future. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. But I kind of broke it down and you can kind of correct me if you see things differently, but, into kind of like 3 things. Like first, I think that you guys have like the open house app, right? Like, which is like, your digital sign-in sheet. You're going to bring that with you to these open houses. That's like a core product that you offer. The next thing that you guys have are like the microsites, which is kind of like, a single property website, so to speak, where you have lead capture on it. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And then the third thing is like, kind of having the custom QR codes and being able to use that wherever, right? Like you can use it on print marketing, you could send out postcards, whatever. And then also, I guess it's kind of like a sub one, like a fourth one, but it also kind of goes in line with the QR codes, is like that my only link, where it's like, it's almost like a link in bio per se, and it's really nice looking actually, where you can actually have like featured properties on your link in bio, which I think is awesome. So we'll kind of just dive into those things. Is there anything I missed that we need to talk about, or are we good kind of covering those specific things?
You nailed it.
Okay. All right. let me add my screen here. Let's see. Add to the stream there. So first off, I mean, just, checking out your website here. I'm going to go ahead and people can, use that link down below if you want to go check out Curb Hero while we're going over it. But the first thing I want to kind of mention though is this is free for agents, right? We haven't even kind of gotten into this yet. Like everything we're talking about here today, it's completely free for agents. Like there's no strings attached. Like it's not like, oh, it's free for 30 days, then you got to pay. Like it's free for agents. Your business model is such where it's like you give all this value to agents, and then ideally, if they connect lenders to the platform, it's kind of like the lender is how you guys would earn your income, right? From Curb Hero, correct?
That's right. Yeah. And the agent doesn't need to pair a lender. We have almost all of our kind of open house sign-in functionality can be used without any lender involvement and any cost. So in that respect, it's kind of a game changer. And then if you want to involve the lender, then you unlock a bunch of new features, which really just set it up over the top. But even in that kind of no strings attached free model, there's still a very valuable app.
Yeah. Because I mean, I think at this point, like I've got only the free account so far. I haven't like introduced a lender yet. But I was like looking, I'm like, man, I feel like I got everything I need. I'm sure like we can talk about like what could be enhanced, but man, I was like, man, this would do everything, I might need it to do right now for my open houses. But yeah, I thought that was super interesting. And then if you are a lender, because I actually do have lenders in my audience as well, how real quickly, just maybe touch on how it works from that side. Why would a lender be a part of Curb Hero?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So my wife's a loan officer. She's been doing it for 21 years, which right now is more than half of her life. So that's really impressive or really sad, depending on how you look at it. I'm impressed by it. Yeah, she's a killer. But the idea that we originally were trying to solve was actually a lender problem, which was, as a lender, you have a bunch of real estate agents that you want to help out as much as possible. And oftentimes that involves being at open houses with them, talking to visitors about financing. And that takes a lot of time. And for lenders, it doesn't scale very well because you can only be in one open house at a time. And lenders also have really busy Monday through Friday hours, like I'm sure realtors do too, but a lot of their time is spent there. And so for my wife, at least, and her team, that those weekends, they were trying to keep those free for life. And so the app was something that we took to her agent so that she could digitally be at dozens of open houses and physically be doing whatever she wanted to do. And also she gets notified as soon as somebody signs in and says, hey, I have mortgage questions, because that's someone that has probably a very specific and potentially time sensitive need. And she can get notified, and all of her follow-up processes, whether it's book time with me or if it's really a rush type situation for pre-approval, here's my application link, all those things just happen. And they can stay in touch however she chooses, but at a minimum, that person's getting followed up on with those specific things. So It was really about trading, getting back her weekends, getting back her time, and still being able to partner with her real estate agents and stay in front of active home buyers.
That's really cool. Now, one thing I was curious of, because I haven't been like hit up or anything since I created the account, as far as like from lenders, is like, if you're an agent and you sign up for the platform, I know you can add your lender to it. And then I also saw a spot where, like, here, if I go into the platform here, where like, if I go to like my paired lender, I could put my lender in there and like, have them become a part of the system, or, it has recommended lenders in here. And so like, I could just partner with one of them if I didn't already have a lender, and I put like my zip code in here, so it kind of knows. But like, I'm not getting hit up by like Steven Roberts or, Kimberly Pample or anything like they're not calling me. So like, are you sharing the agent's information with the lenders right away, or only if I were to say like, hey, invite this person, like I want to connect with this person? How does that work?
Yeah. So if, like you said, if you invite them, then we'll connect you to. It's kind of like a Facebook invite, where if Facebook will suggest, hey, this might be someone and then you can confirm that, and then it'll give that person the option to accept your request. That's the way it works when you invite a lender through this screen. Now, we do also give the lenders recommended agents, but in both cases, the user can say that, hey, I don't want to be involved in that. I can turn off the communication between that. Just so if that's their preference, then they can disable that kind of contact.
Yeah, no, like I said, I've been, on here for a bit now, and it's not like anything like I've gotten spammed or anything like that. So, I think it's totally cool that, you give that opportunity, especially if it's a new agent. Maybe they don't know a ton of lenders, that they want to work with. This will give them some options to kind of like look into different lenders if they want to start making some calls and see who is good and who links up with them. So I love it. Cool. Well, the next thing here is, this little, my listings area, right? And, here it looks like I can add new listings. Here, let me make it a little bit bigger too. There we go. I can add new listings. Here was kind of a sample listing that was already in here, but this is where, you would upload like, different pictures of the listing. You have, it looks like a couple different like layouts or templates of your open house sign-in sheet. And then also over here is kind of more of like the Microsite stuff, where I guess you can edit this. Is this virtual tour? That's like, you can put in like, is it a virtual? Oh yeah, I see it. It's got virtual tour, which is like Matterport. And then you could do a video tour if you had like an actual video separate, and then publish that. And yeah, so maybe real quick, talk a little bit about this, and I'm going to be kind of clicking through some stuff just to show everybody like what it does. But I know too that, like, let me see here. How would I get to, I guess I could probably just click like the copy the link or whatever. And then now I can show off like what the actual single property site looks like. I know it from my app, but yeah, here we go.
Okay.
So yeah. I thought this was cool.
Yeah. So I see now. Yeah. You're in the sample listing here. So yeah, you can set this up really at a minimum. All you need is a photo, and you don't even need that. And that'll get you started with the digital open house sign in. So it can. I actually had an office time me because they were hesitant to give up their pen and paper sign in sheet, and they were like, oh, you can't set this up and have something like this. And so we did it in under 30 seconds. Now I know my way around the app, so I would say maybe under a minute for most users, and you can have the digital open house sign in that looks amazing, like the one that's on your screen, and the QR code that loads the microsite, which essentially replaces your flyers. And that's all done and available. And then you can use it for your print marketing as well if you choose.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you an example, like I created this in a couple of minutes. Like, I mean, I put my logo up there. I used your sample listing, so I mean, that saved a little bit of time. But like, you know, as far as if I had to add pictures to my own listing, it wouldn't have taken that much longer. But this is basically, so the first thing I showed was the microsite. This is the open house kind of deal. So like what you would essentially have this do is like if you had a tablet or something at your open house, you could have it like kind of on a stand. And then somebody could come in here and, you know, all these pictures are scrolling through. It's got your branding on it. And then they would say, you know, they would tap it, you know, tap anywhere to start. Obviously, you're seeing this on the computer, but this is what it would look like on the iPad or tablet. And then here, you know, put your full name, you know, so they would put their name in there, mobile number, right? That email, you know, com, whatever, right? And so now, okay, so then it goes to, we can connect you to a home finance pro. And so then if they are interested, that's where you're saying like somebody, you know, they can connect them to either if you have a paired lender, I'm sure that person would show up here, right? Oh yeah, it's a sample paired lender. So I'm sure your paired lender would be there. That's pretty cool. And so then if they say, sounds good. Okay. Yeah. And then, yep. Are you currently working with a real estate agent? Yes or no. That's pretty good information to know as an agent. So let's just say they said no. What's your time frame to buy? That's kind of cool. Let's say 1 to 3 months. Click next. Do you need to sell a property in order to purchase? That's good to know as well. Let's just say yes. There we go. All right. Thank you for stopping in. So now it's logged that information, right? Basically, and then now on the back end, what I control, like if I come back over to my account, let's see here. I should have a new lead, right? So like my leads, there we go. Yeah. Here's me as the lead that I just registered. So that, I mean, that thing works great. I think that's pretty cool. Now, the other part is I know you can do some stuff with these leads automated, right? So talk maybe a little bit about that side of like how this actually can, once you get it connected, how you could go from getting that lead to having it be in your CRM the same time.
Yeah, so we've got integrations through Zapier. So if you haven't used Zapier, it's a great platform that connects different mostly marketing apps so that, you know, everything syncs up in real time. So pretty much every major real estate CRM has integrations with Zapier. And because of that, we can have real-time integrations with them. So that includes LionDesk, KV Core, Follow Up Boss, Real Geeks, Boomtown, just the whole gamut. And also Zapier, it's a separate platform, but using our integration, we've made it so it can actually be done within their free tier. So you don't need to pay for a subscription, even if you want to do that sync. And we also have other ways of syncing the data. They're a little bit more geeky. They involve things like APIs and webhooks. But if you might have a marketing person or an engineering IT person on your team that can set that up. And the cool thing is once it's set up, it's good to go. And so, yeah, that's a really great way of making sure that all of that follow-up. Basically, the app, I think it looks great, but it really is a time saver. And the last thing an agent wants to do at the end of the open house is look at that paper sign-in sheet, trying to decipher, is this a G or a 9? Okay, well, I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to type it into my CRM one by one. And then, that's not an enjoyable Sunday night activity. So this does all of that. And then hopefully you have some follow-up processes set up in your CRM too. And those just kick into gear. And then you're on autopilot,
Yeah, that's exactly it. Think of how cool that is like, so this thing zaps to them, to your CRM. Like you could have it set up to where they literally fill out their open house deal. It gets, put into Curb Hero's back end, but then it automatically gets zapped over to your CRM. And then your CRM, whatever you're using, Follow Up Boss, KV Core, that kind of stuff, would have a campaign that gets triggered. You could have it send right away if you wanted to, or maybe in like 30 minutes or something, so that they've left with like a video thanking them. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by the open house today. If you have any questions, I'll be in touch. Imagine what a great experience that is when somebody comes and does it, and you don't have to do anything. Like, you could still be hosting the open house and have all that stuff be done in the background. And so I think that's really cool.
Yeah. 100%.
All right, cool. So now the other thing, and I already kind of like previewed it, I kind of showed it, like the microsite. I did want to talk real quick about how the lead generation, and even maybe just talk about why somebody would use this, or like in what scenario somebody would use this microsite. Like, how are you seeing it be effective for agents?
So the microsite, it's not meant to replace your desktop website. It's really meant for a mobile consumer, so someone who's actually on their phone and they have a limited screen size. So on your screen, it's blown up big because you're probably on one of those like baller Mac Pros with like the big screen, and it looks fine, except when it gets shrunk down to the mobile phone, it actually looks better. And we're not trying to include like all of the details that would be configurable on your MLS or displayed on Zillow, like, you know, the lot size, the parcel number, the great schools, that's information.
Like if I made it small like that, like if we were on mobile device, this is here, I'll minimize this so it's not as distracting here. But yeah, like this is what you're saying. So like this is kind of how it would look here on a mobile device, right? Like you got the image, it goes kind of on the top of it, and then you'd be scrolling. So obviously a mobile device wouldn't be this tall, but like that's basically versus like on a, you know, on the screen is like that versus there, kind of that's what it would look like. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think there might be just a little bit of lag on the screen share, but yeah, I think if you're making it more narrow, yeah, that's the way it'll look.
Okay.
And so the idea is you can tie these to the QR codes that we have within our app, so that way you can use that as let's say you don't want to use your iPad as a sign-in, you want to bring your iPad or laptop, you could just print the QR code and have people scan the QR code to sign in as an alternate to doing the full on-screen sign-in.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's one thing that the microsite enables. The other thing is, so when you did the test lead, I don't know if you used your actual mobile number, but if you did, we send an automatic text with the listing microsite as well. That replaces the flyer for you, and the agent can customize that follow-up text however they'd like. But that's another benefit to the microsite. And the last one is if agents want to use the QR code where, let's say they're doing door knocking right before the open house, they can actually put the QR code on their door hangers, and we have templates for all this. And that way, if people are interested to see what the open house is and all the details, they can scan that and they can go straight to the details about the property.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I like that. Well, one of the questions I had, and maybe this is on the roadmap, or maybe, you know, I don't know if you've thought of it, but like, is there a way, because like I'm a big, you know, believer in like Facebook retargeting, you know, Google retargeting. Could I add my pixel to this microsite, or is that maybe something that you guys might consider adding in the future?
That's a great question. So we have that as a beta feature right now.
Okay.
We have it running for some users, but it's not fully rolled out into production where you can in the app add your pixel. But it is something that we're already working on making fully available.
Yeah, I mean, because I like that as an option, especially if you're going to really start promoting that QR code and it's going to be dropping people onto this microsite. It's like, shoot, just by anybody, you know, scanning that QR code, now you can retarget them, you know, down the road. Maybe it's like your next open house, right? Like they start seeing ads on Facebook. Hey, my next open house. And you start growing that audience of just people who have been to your microsite, you know, or any of your microsites, and you can kind of tell them about your upcoming open houses, you know, into the future. So I love that. That's cool. So you're already betaing it, and hopefully, yeah, maybe we'll get that rolled out. That'd be great. Now, tell me too, because you had also mentioned about there were some like premium features or features that like once you've let the lender know or gotten a lender into the system, you kind of unlock those features as an agent. What are some of those extra features that agents can get just by, you know, getting their lender on the platform?
So a lot of those features you're using right now, because by default, when you create a listing, we pair you with a lender that's licensed in that region. So, and then you can replace that lender with your preferred lender, or you can disable that lender and still keep the core features. But the features that do require a lender pairing, whether it's yours or the default one we set you up with, those would be the microsite, the QR code functionality. And then we didn't get to really see it, but when you did that test lead, we were able to pull a bunch of background info as well. We do it in real time through a third-party data provider, and it pulls things like social media and photos and information about their occupation, education, and just helps kind of add more context to the different leads that you capture.
Yeah.
And then we also have a lead verification process that tries to see with some degree of certainty, did the phone number and email and name they provide, are they, did they seem legit? And we give a verified badge. Like all of those are considered enhanced features that require a lender.
So yeah, so since I didn't put my correct information in here, it looks like they're not pulling the right Kyle Handy, of course, right? I put like random phone number. But so yeah, so that's how you would basically link up somebody. Like let's say if I did put my real email, phone number, all that good stuff, then at that point you would have linked up like my Facebook account, all like you would have put, you said like a little verification badge or something saying like, hey, this lead is accurate, like this information's accurate. That's really cool. Nice. So yeah, and that's where and I would see that in my leads section of Curb Hero.
Yep. Cool. Yep, exactly. And we also have a couple other enhanced features. One of them is really geared towards agents that are holding really active open houses with lots of leads coming through, where we actually text the agent as soon as a lead signs in, and they can reply to that text with notes. So that means that the notes that they text back just through their phone get saved as notes for them to refer back to later. And that means that on their device, whether it's iPad or laptop, it's always just signing people in, kind of like a cash register at a store. You just want it ringing, and they can, on the sly, as they're having conversations with people, just text themselves notes that will be saved for their reference later.
That's cool. That's really cool. I like that. Awesome. Well, yeah. And then real quick too, since we were on that topic, is like, what would it be for a lender? Like if they're not with the program already, like if an agent was like, hey, preferred lender, you need to be on this system so that way I can, recommend you and stuff when I'm at my open houses. What does it cost that lender? Is it a one time? Is it a monthly? And what does that run?
Yeah, so it's a monthly fee. The basic plan starts at $20 per month. And that's per agent, but we have volume discounts because most lenders, they have multiple agents. It's kind of like my wife's situation where she had a dozen agents that at any one time could be holding open houses. So when you get into like the higher volumes, it comes down to $5 per agent per month.
Oh, wow. Nice. So you said it's $20 per agent per month, but then if you have a higher volume of agents, then it comes down to $5. Okay, nice. Yes. Awesome. Very cool. And then you said too, then like the other benefit for the lender, is that not only can they, get paired up with you, you recommended them, but then also they are going to have the opportunity where if somebody does come across their profile, likes their profile, they could then get in touch with that lender and use them as their, so it's almost like a lead generation opportunity for the lender as well.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. All right. Well, and then the last thing I want to talk about real quick, because this was pretty cool too, is the My Only link. How is this a recent thing, or have you had this for a little while?
We've had the Only link for a little while. What we've done recently is we've attached a QR code to that. And the reason why we did that is what we've seen is, QR codes through COVID have just become ubiquitous. Like all of a sudden everyone knows what to do, and everyone's phone has a camera app that can now scan a QR code. So they've really been brought to into the consumer's behavior. But the way that agents typically use QR codes is they'll tie them to a specific website or a listing, a website page for their listing. But the problem with that is, let's say you want to do that for every listing and every open house, then you need to create new designs for every single one of those use cases, and you need to go to the printer every time. And that becomes a whole, that's an investment in time and money that may not be the most important one for the agent. So what we've done is we've created one QR code that can be dynamic, and it points to the agent's Only link. And the agent can decide what that landing page should do. Should it be all about this featured property? And we've added a feature where that property can take over the entire screen. Mm-hmm. So that might be a good case for day of the open house. You have your QR code on all of your signs. You have 30 plus signs in the neighborhood. And every time someone scans it, they're going to see the property that you're holding open right there. And that's this takeover that you're doing right here.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it because I saw that and I was like, man, I don't know how, but now as you're talking about it, I'm like, it makes sense of why I would use that. But at first I was like, when would I use that? But now it makes total sense. So yeah, I love that. Okay, cool. So now it's like you have this dynamic. I actually just had one of my agents that joined EXP here recently was, she's creating her signs and she wants to put a QR code on them. And I was like, well, you probably don't want to, because she wanted to do it for listings. I'm like, well, unless you're going to keep reprinting all of your signs all the time, that wouldn't make a lot of sense. Maybe just like get a sticker or something, and then that way you can just like put different stickers on it. But this is even better. Like you could literally just create that one, use the one QR code, and then use this full screen takeover. And so that way, whatever property you want to promote at any given time, that QR code will send them to that featured property. And if you don't have maybe a property you want to send them to, it's still at least going to send them to your like link in bio, your one, that has everything that you want people to see. So it could be like, you can see here, I just added a couple different links here, check out all my listings, and it sends them to, my main IDX website. I've got, watch my latest video, which takes them to like my YouTube channel. And you could add, more of those if you wanted to. And then you still could even have just, featured properties below that as well. And then you also have some analytics, it looks like, just so you can see like who's, checking out your link, like how many people are actually doing it. And then I noticed too, you've got like where you can redesign it. So you kind of have some templates here.
Yep.
You can even change the colors like to your exact branding. I don't even remember how I exactly did that. Maybe it was like, yeah, I know I changed that blue to like the exact blue because you can use like hex codes and stuff. Like I think actually that was like when I was doing like my branding setup or something. Yeah, here we go. Like my primary color, I came in here and you can put your exact, hex code in there and use your colors. You can choose like your brokerage's logo, or you can upload your own logo. I mean, there's all sorts of cool things in here. You can display your license number. Yeah, sync leads with your CRM. So here's where we were kind of talking about that sync leads option.
Yep.
So really cool. Yeah, I like that. See more. There we go. Yeah, very nice. So you got all the different brokerages in there. But yeah, that my only link I think is awesome. And then you can, because you not only do you get you get the QR code, but you also have an actual like link. So if you did want to put that on your Instagram or your, TikTok or whatever, and just say, hey, check out my link in bio, they go to this page. And so you can use this for everything. You could use it for your QR stuff, like on your signs, on your marketing, print marketing, and on your digital stuff. So I love it, man. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, you nailed it. I feel like you just have an intuition for like what we were trying to build with this, because that use case you mentioned with your other agent, that's exactly what we were trying to solve. And the way we discovered it is because I try to talk to as many of our users as possible. And one of our users sent me this photo of them printing out their QR code and taping it to their open house sign. And it looked janky, but it was effective. And I was like, I think you may have something here. Let us give us a little bit of time. And so that's kind of what inspired that.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I love it. And I think that's super cool. I'm going to actually reach out now and tell that agent, I'm going to be like, hey, you need to get this today, and if you want to do what you're doing, this is how you would do it. So super cool. Well, we had a question here real quick from Julie. She says she just started up her own account. So congrats, Julie. Her question is, are we able to use this on other agents' listings that we are holding open, or just our own listings?
Yes. Yeah. And absolutely. You can add any listing here. It doesn't need to be your listing. And the other thing is, it doesn't even need to be an address. So we've seen agents, just their creativity is just, sometimes they'll bring up these use cases like client appreciation events. They'll have a charity golf event. For Christmas, we saw an agent do a client appreciation event where she told her entire database, bring your kids and bring a friend who has kids. We're going to do photos with Santa. And everyone signed in through Curb Hero. And through our text follow-up, she sent a link to the photo gallery so people could get their photos afterwards. And so it's very open-ended as far as what you can add as a listing there. It doesn't need to be your listing, and it doesn't even really need to be an open house.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, like so you don't force it to be like a physical address. You could put whatever you want in there, and then like add images if you wanted. Like that could, not even be necessarily a house. It could be just something you're promoting or whatever, and then send people to that. That's really cool. I like that idea as well. Yeah, Kimberly says that's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that Santa idea.
Yeah, just a couple months too late, but for next time.
Yeah, for next time. That's right. Maybe you can do like the Easter Bunny or something coming to Valentine's Day or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
I love it. Very cool. Well, very nice. Well, real quick before we finish up, maybe what's on the radar? Like what's kind of, what do you think is next? Like what can people look forward to? Curb Hero, what's to come?
So I can tease at the next version. We're going to be, you know how a lot of times when you see the QR codes, the brand's logo is right in the center and it has that kind of cool effect.
Yeah,
that's coming. We're going to have fully brand. And even today, it's tough to tell, but the QR code color actually it inherits that primary color. So
oh, cool. I did see that. Yeah, I noticed mine had changed when I changed my primary color. So I like that. That's cool. So it's always staying on brand. That's
exactly
important. So.
On brand. And the other thing we're going to be introducing is a whole marketing section where we have some of our own marketing features that we've been testing with a select group of agents, but we've also brought in other marketing providers that we've been impressed with, like virtual staging, even companies that focus on like sign production and printing and sign placement, social media posts, all of these kind of features that agents may want as they're preparing or executing an open house. We're bringing those into the app as well. And for the providers that are separate companies, we've negotiated really good perks for Curb Hero users. And so a lot of times you can try virtual staging for free, or you can get $50 credit towards photography, and all those perks will be part of our platform.
Oh man, I love it. Well, I can tell, I mean, this is going to be, just the start of this all. And I'm excited to be, partnered up here with you guys and have found, what service you do. It's funny, I mean, the way I found you is I was doing an article on digital open house sign-in sheets. And, I was just kind of, looking up things. And at the time, like you guys were like, there was like a different company or something, I think, like name. And then I was like looking up and I was trying to find it, but then I got connected to you and you're like, oh yeah, this is what it is. And, and anyways, it was just like, wow. Like, and then I started seeing, I was like, I wish that I knew about this back when I was doing open houses, like that all this stuff even existed. Cause I was doing the paper thing, my signs weren't, branded. They didn't have QR codes on it, none of this stuff. And I was like, man, this would have been so nice to have this technology. Because I mean, I did, not only just my my new home sales days, but even just getting started in general real estate. I was doing open houses like once a week minimum, sometimes 2-3 times a week. And so it was a big part of the business. And I didn't have any of this tech back then. So this was like 2013, 2014, 2015, like those years. But yeah, I think for agents today, I mean, if they're not using something like this, especially because it's free, like why would you not? You need to get signed up right away. So cool. And we got Lily. She says she just signed up. This is cool. Awesome, Lily. I'm glad you liked it. Let's see. Alfred says, I think I missed when you spoke about lenders. Do they have to register to be able to be displayed?
And that's they need to create an account. And I'm just going to reply in the chat that the link that you have scrolling along the bottom, lenders can use that as well. And when you create an account, you pick if you're a mortgage lender, and then that'll give you the functionality to pair with other agents.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. I didn't even think about that either. Yeah, for me sharing most, like I said, my audience is always agents. I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to share this, but I do definitely have a lot of lenders that either watch the show or that I know. So I didn't even think to share that. And then the cool thing too is just like, for me, I mean, when I believe in a product, I'm happy to share it with my audience. But for agents, I mean, they can sign up too to get a little bit of a benefit whenever, if they have friends or somebody that wants to access this platform, they can share. They get their own kind of referral link, I believe, right? Like once they sign up. So yeah, so it's pretty cool all around. I mean, it sounds like, is that as far as like your growth, are you mostly still kind of like word of mouth grown at this point, or like what are kind of the ways that you've been trying to grow the business mostly recently?
Yeah. To your point, agents spreading the word has been huge for us. And it's also, in my opinion, a validation of the product. So we love that. And that's why we created the referral program. And we plan to do more with that. And also just organic, we've got some pretty good SEO going and some social media as well. But yeah, agents spreading the word is probably the most important form of growth for us right now.
I love it. Well, yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you, taking time, AJ, out of your day and just, kind of come in and adding some value to the audience here. And like I say, I look forward to kind of staying in touch with you and seeing all of the great things that you guys are doing with the company. 2023 is going to be an awesome year, and I'm excited to be able to share this with people, and hopefully, you know, they do start to incorporate more of an open house strategy, either in their personal business or if they run a team, like make that a part of your team's business. It is important. I mean, I can tell you firsthand that this, you know, open houses is what gave me my start in the business, and it's really what, you know, kind of built that foundation for me. So it's that important. So yeah, thank you again, AJ. Have an amazing rest of your week. And I'm sure we'll be talking again here soon, but have a good one. We'll talk to you later.
Right on. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.